Hey, today we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome. And we're also going to be talking about some of the mindset that we play when we are training for endurance events. And I'm here with Sharon, the host of the new but excellent podcast, Bibs and Tiara. She and I approach a lot of these things from very different angles, with very different backgrounds. So, welcome back, Sharon. You've been on a couple of times at this point.
I have. Thank you. Happy to be here again. And it's singular, Bib and Tiara.
Bib and Tiara. That's
Yeah.
right. You're not registering for multiple people and running with multiple bibs, are you?
No,
No.
no.
No, not one of those
I'm
people.
not getting anybody else's POT for them, I promise.
Well, very good. So let's talk about imposter syndrome. And so maybe you can help me out here. I feel like I've felt this many times throughout my life where you start a new job or a new role in your career or something
Yeah.
where you show up and you're like, I don't feel like I belong here. Right. Like I remember distinctly, there was one role that I took where I actually ended up being really good in it. But like on day one, I was like, I felt so far out of my wheelhouse that I was like, what did I do?
Yeah. How'd I get here?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's like, "Oh, these people trust me to do this. I don't know that I trust me to do this. Oh my lord."
I mean, I feel like it's a phenomenon most people can identify with at the beginning of something. Like there's that piece of it, which is this is new and I don't really know if I can do this. Like this is something I've not done before, like playing a new sport or starting, a new endurance sport or a new job or a new career or a new whatever. But then there's like the version that's not necessarily just because of it's new, but it's because like I don't I'm comparing myself falsely to some arbitrary idea of what one should be if you're this type of, if you are an endurance athlete, that means that you are, I don't know, fast or you have a six pack or whatever, like some image you have in your head of what it means to be this thing you're trying to be that can go throughout the whole time.
So, I think as a coach, I witnessed this a lot.
Yeah.
Athletes, they train for something that's comfortable, and maybe they start and they're like, "Hey, I wanna train for a sprint, or I want a new PR," or whatever. And then triathletes are funny creatures because eventually, as you get better, you start to say, that thing that was really big and hairy and audacious and unattainable maybe isn't so unattainable. And the like, should I do an Ironman conversation sets
Oh
in,
my goodness. Yeah.
right? Or with someone who's training for a run, maybe it's like the marathon conversation shows up. And I want to just put this out there. The runDisney crew is like, none of these rules apply. Like, I don't know what it is about Disney and the "Every mile is magic" slogan, but the rules don't seem to apply. So maybe we
People are like, let's start with dopey. Like, is that what you mean?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Maybe we put that to the side, but like as part of
Yeah.
my own business,
Yeah.
I see so many people every year who they sign up for dopey and they've never done a marathon, they've never done a 10K. And, so like as I build my coaching business, I kind of want to like build the like, I'll train you for dopey side.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that is very interesting that you talk about the difference there because you're right. And I mean, and first of all, I've said this for the record on my podcast and I'm going to say it for you on yours. I have never done dopey and I don't think I ever will. And I am never going to do an Ironman. I just don't want to do that. But I think I
I
can't
know
under.
why you don't want to do dopey.
Okay. Why?
It's because you don't like the Disney 5Ks and that forces you
Yeah.
to do the 5K. Like that's totally the
Well,
reason, right?
no, it's not the reason because I always do the springtime challenge and that forces me to do a 5K too,
Yeah,
you
but
know?
it doesn't include the funnest distance.
Oh my god, you're nuts.
You remember I started off and I said, we approach things from different angles.
We are yes,
Like
we are very
my
opposite.
my angle is like the harder the better, and like we do things because they're hard.
Yeah,
And like I almost don't care if I'm slow, but I did like the big hard thing.
first of all, Jill, I know you care if you're slow.
Well, yeah.
And I think I also like to do things that are hard, but not so hard that I don't enjoy them. You know what I mean? So, like, a marathon is my max, and if I'm well trained and have a good day, I can enjoy running a marathon.
Mhm.
Beyond that, like, I mean, I've done a 70.3 once upon a time.
I
You know
know
what I
you
mean?
told me. I was really surprised
I
because
know.
the amount of effort you put into telling me that you don't like doing really hard stuff.
Well, it's not that I don't like doing really hard stuff. I like doing really hard stuff. Like, I mean, running is really hard,
Yeah,
you know? Running a half marathon is really hard, like, running is hard,
it
but
is.
I don't need to push the limit, you know? And actually, for me, it's that I enjoy it so much that it's not worth risking it by overdoing it. You
So
know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was kinda, not new, but newer to, like, the ultra endurance sports. I think that year done, like, maybe 6 or 7 marathons in a year.
My god.
Well, I had done Dopey, and then I think I did, like, Hilton Head the next month, and then there was something else the next month, and then I
Yeah.
did the London Marathon, and it went like that for most of the year.
Ooh.
Yeah, and, I was like I got in my head, one of my friends, I guess, was like, "Maybe you should do an ultra." And that was when I was like, "No."
Was your limit? This is what you hit
It's like,
the
I like the marathon distance. I really enjoy the half marathon distance.
Yeah,
But the marathon I still like because, you can get one I mean, start at 4:30 in the morning and you can get anything done before lunch, right?
true.
And
Yeah,
that ultimately is what got me to triathlon in the
that's where you
first place.
Uh-huh,
I was like, "How do we do longer and
uh-huh.
break my body?"
Yeah, I think there's the limit, and I think it's fine, like, whatever it is. Like, for you, if you're like, "I enjoy a marathon, it's a challenge, it's a really hard thing that I appreciate doing," but that you're like, "I don't wanna do a 100 miler."
Yeah,
Like, to me, that's the numbers are arbitrary. 26 is arbitrary, 100 is arbitrary. It's like, at what point is it like, "That's too much for me?" And for me, it's really, like, 26 is too much, really. Like, I've done it enough times, but I
I
don't
totally
really
get it.
desire doing it anymore.
So connecting that back, right? As a coach, like ignoring me personally, right? As a coach, I see athletes who are like, I want to do an Ironman or I want to do 70.3 or I want to do a marathon. And they're like, no, I could never do that. I'm not good enough. It's too big. And, I'm like, I feel like as a coach, like part of my job is to balance the it's not too big with the I don't want to force it down your throat either.
Right. Well, and I would imagine if I were having that conversation and, like, it would be like, "Okay, like, you can do it." I mean, that's sort of my opinion is, like, you can do it if you prepare. I mean, assuming you're relatively able-bodied and you train, you know what I mean? Like, you can do it if you wanna do it. Why do you wanna do it? You know what I mean? Like, why do you wanna do it? What motivates you to wanna do it? Like, is it, like, because it's not gonna be easy, you like,
Well,
but you know?
yeah, it's not easy. And I had a conversation earlier today with a couple prospective clients who are talking about doing dopey next year.
Yeah,
And they're like, but I'm only going to do dopey if I can get proof of time.
okay.
Like, okay, so that's our goal is to get you proof of time. Okay, well, where's your starting position?
Yeah,
And, dopey registration is in about 60 days from now.
yeah, but
Proof,
when does the time due?
I think it's due in July.
I think that's right.
Yeah, so I'm like, we've effectively got 6 months to get you a proof of time. And they're
Yeah,
like, well, here was kind of the standards this year. And that was you could see across the face. I'm like, A was, I believe, like 150 or 151 or faster. And B was like 205-ish to like 151, 152. And then C was like 230 to like 206 or something like that.
yeah.
And they're like, we're looking for C.
Of course.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, honestly, I would have been like, well, okay, first of all, let's stop and question the question, like, or the premise. Like, why do you think you need a proof of time in order to do dopey? You know what I mean? Like, what is your reason for that? I would just be curious. Maybe they told you, but because I'm thinking about it in the context of this imposter syndrome thing, which for runDisney, I love runDisney. I love that runDisney is so like you don't have to be a quote unquote serious or fast runner to do it. Like you can
Well, and
like
that's why I said, like, we kind of have to like hold them aside because I think like the kind of like imposter syndrome, the oh no, that's too
yeah,
big,
it doesn't apply there.
it doesn't really apply there. Like, and you look at people who sign up and like we're all a little judgmental of everyone around us. And you're like, I hope you trained for this.
Oh, there are plenty of people that don't.
Right. And
Yeah.
you can't really predict who did and who didn't and who's going to cross the finish line and who can't. But it's like 48.6 miles in really, it's 72 hours, right?
Yeah, it's very condensed.
Yeah, we say it's 4 days, but it's really 72 hours from start to finish. You sure you don't want to do one? I'm not doing a good job of talking it up.
No, I'm out on that. But
But
I get
the bling, it's all about the bling.
do you know how many I have a whole entire room filled with bling. I don't need any more.
But the room you're in isn't.
Not the one I'm in right now, but the one at home is. So to me, I feel like again, tying this to the mental part about feeling like you don't belong. Like the previous question is what is it that you're trying to belong to and what does it mean? You know what I mean? Like why do you want to be like what are you trying to prove yourself to be? Like what do you feel like you're not, I guess? If I'm an imposter, that means I'm not what? Like fast enough, fit enough, if it's at your job, like capable enough, whatever it is, and it's like, what's the line? What's this thing that you're trying to, figure
Yeah.
out how to be
But it's
ex-
also, isn't it also like signals that other people have given you? And like, I'll use an example. First time I went to World Championships, I qualified at Lake Placid.
This is Nice was the first one you did,
This
right?
was for Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I qualified at Lake Placid. I had a really good time in all three disciplines. And, it's women's only race. So more slots than there is in 26. And one of the guys said to me, he says, well, it's so easy for women. Anyone can go that wants to go.
I don't understand what that means.
So he was comparing that for the men, there is 3 times to 4 times as many men as there are women. And he was essentially saying that the women have, given that we had, in his mind, the same number of slots, which we didn't. The women's races were all about half the size of the men's race. But still, proportionally, it's twice as large.
Uh-huh.
He's like essentially saying, well, as women, like, it's easy to qualify, like cross the finish line and you get to go if you want to. And, so as soon as you pay your very exorbitant entry fee,
Good Lord. Yes.
yes, because I always thought that runDisney was expensive and then I met Ironman.
Another reason you'll never get me there.
Dopey's not even as much as a 70.3 these
I
days.
know.
I mean,
I'm way too cheap for that.
yeah, and like Disneyflation is a thing, but Ironmanflation outpaces it, I think.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was like the most like you earned this thing. You worked your tail off. You earn it. And immediately someone else is like forces upon you well, it's meaningless.
Uh-huh.
And then you show up. Yeah. So like in this case, like these are very expensive races, right? Like you think about it, like,
You also had to fly to France.
right, you're flying to France, you're staying
Yeah.
in France for a week or more, and you got to get all your stuff there. And like the race entry fee alone is like $2,000. So, it's, these are like $10,000 to $20,000 races for most people. And, so which is why like most people do it like once, right? And you get
That
there.
and the whole running a bazillion miles and biking for all day thing.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like for me, like you get there and at some point I had that guy in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And it's like, on the one hand, it's like, you look around at all the people around you and you're like, I'm tall, I'm fat. I'm like, you look around and you're like, I don't fit in here. I'm not like 5'4" and
100
82
pounds.
pounds. And then you have like the comment like that in the back of your head that just like
Yeah.
deflates the achievement to begin with.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
That's like,
I've seen that a few times, and I'm sure it can be directed at men, but it seems to always be directed at women.
I mean, it probably also gets directed at men, I think. But I think women are more used to feeling like they have to prove like, uh, their right to be in the room or in the conversation, so to speak, like historically. But it happens to everyone. And what's interesting is I think it happens. I mean, you've ever heard the expression hurt people hurt people? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the kind of person who would make that comment is insecure about themselves. You know what I mean? Like that it's their own imposter syndrome that would trigger that kind of comment, I think. Like why put somebody else down if you're secure in yourself, you know? And so I feel like it's almost contagious in a way in competitive settings, but what setting isn't? I mean, like where it's like I have to prove that I'm deserving or I'm good enough or I'm worthy because you're not, you know,
Right,
which
right.
like
And you get that in the workplace too, right?
100%,
Yeah,
you know, and so like I feel like being able to okay, so I've probably told you this story, but I'm going to tell this story too because your story made me think about it when you were talking about being the at the starting line of the world championships, which is not where I was in this story, by the way, not even close. But my first ever triathlon in ever my life
Mhm.
was like 22 ish.
So
And
last year.
yeah, exactly. And my boyfriend at the time was into triathlon, so he encouraged me to do one. And I had this like rinky dink bike that I bought for like $20 at a used bike store. And it was a sprint. It was a sprint triathlon in Lynchburg, Virginia. And it started with a pool swim. And I had no triathlon experience at all. And I must have, I don't know, this was so long ago, I don't remember how this happened. There must have been something where you had to put in an estimated swim time so
Mm.
that they seeded you. Well, I screwed that up. And this was like before the internet. I mean, I don't even know how this worked, but it was seeded and you got a lane of the pool. And I'm
Mhm.
going to go ahead and say it was like a 500-yard swim, maybe something like that. I was in the first wave and I was a tiny little girl in a Speedo bathing suit who's never done a triathlon. There's 7 lanes of this pool, 6 lanes of this pool. Every other lane is like a rock solid dude, like a guy who looks like he's out of a fitness
Mhm.
magazine. And I'm not a very strong swimmer. You know, I really wasn't then. I mean, I hadn't even trained swimming. I just was going to show up and swim. So, I'm standing on the block, like, what on earth have I gotten myself into? I think I swam 150 yards of that swim in that pool alone.
Because
Like,
everyone else had finished.
well, yeah, they all finished and got out and kept
And so
going.
what
And
was it? The next wave couldn't start until everyone
next
was
wave couldn't
out?
start until the first wave was done. So I had at least 4 laps to do. It might have been a whole 200 by myself in this pool. You know what I mean? So like,
And you are acutely aware that everyone on deck is staring at your ass.
everyone's watching me and I feel like an idiot. Like who do
Mhm.
who do I think I am doing this? But
Yeah.
sir, I don't honestly remember. I must have been embarrassed because I remember it to this day, but I think about it now and I'm like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like you're just, you're out there doing it. Like it's for fun. Nobody's winning money or gonna go pro because they won the sprint triathlon in Lynchburg, Virginia. You know what I mean? Like it's not that serious. But at the time it probably felt pretty bad.
Hey, a competition is a competition. It doesn't matter what's
Yeah.
on the line.
Once again, we prove our oppositeness of the way we look at things.
Have you ever seen me at the start line?
I've seen you at the start line of Disney races, plenty. Yeah,
Sharp
you're pretty.
sharp elbows.
Mm-hmm. No, I always back up. I never start the running part near you because I'm always like, let's go back like 10 people.
Yeah, like, "Oh, she's gonna kill me."
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't. I've never actually run with you at the beginning.
No, you just catch up and pass me later on.
Sometimes.
Twice.
I have not kept that careful of track, but sometimes.
I have.
Yeah. Once again, why we're different. So anyway, I think that ultimately imposter syndrome is just a reflection of our universal human insecurity, you
Yeah.
know, and it can be, certainly it can be imposed on us a little bit by people who either gatekeep or try to put us down by saying you don't belong here.
Yeah. And, taking it out of sports, putting
Yeah.
my CIO hat
Corporate
on.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, I was you know, executive in technology for quite a while. And, as part of that, you end up in, mentor roles in any large organization. And, as a woman in tech, there's not a lot of us. And so you end up with like a fairly sizable crew who wants to meet with you.
Mm,
And it was, on the one hand, it's like scheduling that is chaos. But on the other hand, you get to hear a lot of stories and a lot of aspirations. And a lot of what I heard was women telling stories of how disappointed they were that someone else got promoted and not them into a role that they feel they could do. And I was always like, well, why didn't you apply for the role? Because in the organization that I worked in,
yeah.
promotions didn't happen in line. You had to apply to a role and then interview for it. And of course, yeah, there's like the managerial, like, hey, go apply to this role that I created for you to apply
Like
to.
nudge, nudge. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there was that. But that didn't necessarily mean that that person was
Somebody else
going to get
wouldn't
it.
get. Yeah.
And so the question was like, well, why didn't you apply for it? And so we know statistically that if you have in black and white writing a job description with a bunch of bullet points, that men generally will see one bullet point and say, I know how to do that. And they're like,
I'm
I
gonna.
can figure out the rest of it.
Yeah.
And they'll apply. And women are exactly the opposite. If they see one that they don't meet,
Not for me. It's not for me.
they're like, I'm not ready,
Yeah.
or it's the wrong role. And so you have like that intrinsically opposite behavior that happens. And, like, well, why didn't you apply for it? So like, well, I didn't meet all the
Hmm.
bullets on the description. I'm like, so what? So what? Show up. Show them
Yeah.
what you got. Maybe there's like 10 things that aren't on there that you can bring to the table that they didn't have. And it's like, it's always that conversation of, well, I don't belong because I don't look like someone else, because I don't meet the bullets on a paper. And then, when that person does end up getting promoted, then the conversation shifts to, oh my God, everybody else is so much better at this than I am. I'm like, well, of course they are. They've been doing it longer.
Sure.
You
It's
will
so
be too.
it's so interesting that because you just used the word belong, and it's making me think about like how our need for belonging ties into all of this.
Mhm.
And one of the things that, this is going to seem weird, but I was thinking about how you were saying how runDisney's sort of a different animal. How like in that one, there doesn't seem to be this imposter syndrome thing or this like, like, really you think, I mean, I've been doing running races for 25 years and have done a bunch of marathons, and dopey scares the Jesus out of me. And these people who are like, I bet I could run. I think maybe running is a thing I can try. Let me sign
Yeah.
up for dopey. I mean, it's just kind of how it is there. And to me, it has something to do with the belonging piece, which is that like runDisney's beauty in my mind is that it's like everyone belongs there. You know what I mean? Like there's no like assumption that you're super serious or fast. But if you were talking about Ironman, would I feel intimidated, like incredibly intimidated, even entering into that space? Yes, I would. You know what I mean? Because it certainly isn't like everybody belongs in an Ironman. Like, no, everybody
No,
doesn't.
no, it isn't. And if you have not trained for one,
You're going to
I, w-
die.
I would not recommend signing up for one until you have given it the time, because there's a safety thing there.
Well, that would be insane.
But no, you're right. And it's funny because, you line up at the start line for an Ironman, and
And do you have problems keeping things in, like, in, or do you like vomit? Do you like, I mean, I feel like
me,
I'm so scared.
I
But
find, I
just
find
one.
when you're waiting there in the swim crawls, so like most triathlons are self-seated.
Really?
Yeah, so, like, you don't submit proof of time or anything ahead of time.
That
They
blows my
just
mind.
because the time on the field is your time.
Yeah.
It's not
It
first
starts
one
from you.
across. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it is your time. And if you're over time, you're over time. It doesn't matter where you started, which is a little different from, like, the
You've
runDisney
explained that to
thing.
me before.
Yeah,
Well, and also the course is so long that I think you would inherently get spread out pretty quick, so it's not like you
it
need
that
to
is
worry
true.
about a crowded
That
course.
is
Yeah,
true. The swim, not as much, but, like, once you're on the bike, things tend to spread out pretty quickly.
right.
But, like, for me, in an Ironman or a triathlon, you're in the swim crowds, and I'm on the faster end,
Yeah.
but not, like, the fastest. So, like, in a full, I'm typically around, like, 110 for the 2.4, which is usually, like, the 2nd or 3rd corral to go. Sometimes the first, depending on what group I'm starting with and how they have it laid out for the day. Sometimes I'm starting with foundation and they occasionally, are up there in the front. But I find that, like, when you're waiting in the corral and it's slowly moving, that, like, the nerves just keep going. And that was one of the problems I was having at both world championships is I would start my corral because of my age was the last to start because those are age brackets. Everyone who's, like, 45, 49
So are we like
starts
grandmas
together,
in Ironman? Is that are we like
kinda.
the elders at our age?
So, I said to someone, I'm like, "Us starting last, you have to read as we are the ones that they have the most confidence
Uh-huh.
are not going to need help.
There you go.
We're the most likely to get out of the water." And I find that, like, when it's finally my swim corral and we're getting shoveled through the, like, timing gates, that's where, like, the world just slows down and the butterflies go away, and there's, like, this calm before the start. And then 3 strokes in, your heart is through the roof.
I bet. And somebody's foot is in your face.
Somebody's foot is in your face, someone else's hand is on your shoulder.
I know, people are hitting you like that.
Yeah, yeah, and you would think that, like, in the longer distances that it would be not as bad, but that's not the case. I think it might actually be
Really?
worse in the longer distances.
Okay.
Although your next sprint is in Philly, and it's a pool swim, and you shouldn't have that experience.
It's like a snake, I think.
Yes, it is, it is,
Yeah.
it is. That one is also completely self-seated.
Okay, so, you're gonna go in the beginning, and because 'cause you're doing this too, and
We
gonna
we
be
so you are my athlete for the purpose of this race, and we are going to game plan.
okay. So you're
We're
gonna
going to game
figure
plan.
out how to do this.
We're
Okay.
gonna game plan. Yeah, but I think, like,
Mhm.
runDisney is weird because it's almost backwards.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like the faster runners are the ones who don't belong.
Yeah, maybe.
If you especially if you listen to, like, what's in the Facebook groups.
Yeah, I know you seem to come across a lot of that. I haven't seen as much. Like, I feel like
Well, come on, but I'm in, like, all the groups all the
well,
time.
you're probably just there a lot more than I am, but I
Yeah,
don't feel like, people I mean, I don't know, it's kinda who I don't want anybody to feel excluded or anybody to feel intimidated, and so I don't like to like I don't like that it's sort of that way, that your corral means something like that, but I don't know, I feel like I mean, this is a story, the story is also in my podcast about how I walked the half of the full marathon at marathon weekend all the way in the back with the balloon ladies,
yes.
and I feel like
I
those
also
people
remember all the tribulation you went through leading up to that decision.
yeah, I had to figure it out, but, like, I don't feel like how do I put this? Like, I don't feel like those people begrudge the fast people anything, you know what I mean? Like, they don't mind that there's fast people, but they also aren't trying to be that, they don't care, you know what I mean? Like, they're not
Yeah.
they're very happy where they are, mostly.
See, I've had a different experience
Uh,
where, like, we've been in the park, and I think it changes weekend to weekend,
yeah,
where we've been in the park in line, and we'll be talking to someone behind us who ran the race, and then the question will come up, they're like, "Well, what crowd did you start in?" And I
yeah,
almost don't wanna tell them
yeah,
because I get like, "Oh, you're one of those."
yeah. I know you've told me this before, and that's terrible. I don't feel like I've ever gotten that attitude from anyone, but I think that if it does come from any, like, the only negativity I see is it's not from the people in E, F, and G. It's not from the slow people
No,
or the people who are having fun and the people who are just there to have a good time. It's coming from the people in B.
it's
It's like the people who really want to be in an early corral for whatever reason, or they're really competitive, but they're somehow not quite good enough to be, quote unquote,
so
to be in A.
I've definitely seen that, and
Yeah.
we know of a couple examples last year where some people got called out for it, right? But I think there's a perception that, like, starting earlier in those
Mm,
races because you have, like, this extra dimension with, like, all the characters and stuff that,
yeah.
like, practically no other race has, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's, like, a perception that, like, well, those guys get a better race, and it's like, well, no, like, our paces are faster, and
Yeah.
if we were running your paces, like, okay, maybe we get to the first one faster, but the lines are gonna be just as long, whereas, like, if you're running at a 7 or 8-minute pace from character to character to character, the lines are gonna stay pretty short because the crowd is still pretty thin. Once the crowd gets thicker, then it almost doesn't matter where you start.
That's true. It totally doesn't. And it's like, I don't know. I would assume that if somebody that would be a little bit of a sense of like, okay, we're doing different things. You know what I mean? Like we're not doing the same thing because there's the people who do run Disney who are very concerned about keeping up with that 60-minute mile, who like that is not a like that's a real fear and a real risk that they don't go in expecting or knowing for sure that they can do that. You know what I mean? And that's like a whole different place to be
And
than
I
to be
love
worried
that,
about being in
and
B or A. Yeah.
see and I love that for them, and even though it's super stressful them, the reason why I love it is because the whole topic of this conversation is,
Imposter
fear of
syndrome.
belonging and this is a group of people who have consciously said, "Screw that. I'm gonna show up, and I don't know that I can do it, but I'm
Yes,
going to try."
totally.
And I think that is completely the opposite,
Yeah. Yeah. Then
right?
feeling well, then feel it's interesting. It's just making me think when you were talking about and I would assume that these are like 2 bell curves that are slightly askew, like men and women, about how people approach something that's a little bit intimidating or beyond what they've done before, where men, and we could get into it, we won't, but a whole sociological conversation about why this is true. But I think men tend to veer more towards confidence than women do. But more confident people or people who, are like, I'll figure it out, which is like, okay, this job, I have enough qualifications, the things I don't know, I'll learn. I'm sure I can do it versus the fear of like not being good enough or not being able to handle it or whatever. Like that, the difference between those two people, I feel like is the difference between like run Disney races and like other ones, which is, you know, okay, try it, try it. You can do, sign up for the marathon, like you can, see if you can do it. And if you can't, I mean, they call it a party bus. If you don't if you aren't able to keep up the pace, like they give you your medal, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that is like a big walk of shame or whatever versus, the versus Boston. You know what I mean? Like on the other absolute extreme of it, which is like, okay, you have to number one qualify and then you have to extra qualify beyond our normal
Yeah.
qualifications for this given year to be worthy of
And
running
I
this
feel like
race.
the, Ironman World Championships would
Yeah.
be very similar,
Yeah.
where you
To
had
Boston.
to but,
Yeah.
like, if you think about it, it kinda makes sense too because you had to earn your spot there,
Hmm.
and then you get there and don't perform. Then there's the, "What the heck, guys?"
Yeah.
But it happens, right?
Of
Especially,
course.
like,
Like Kona, it's like a bajillion degrees.
right, right. I mean, we saw, like, the 2 top women in the world both DNF
Totally.
on the run at Kona this year. Like, who would have called that both Lucy and Taylor were literally on the ground? Right. Wouldn't have called that, and by the way, I was in, like, team Taylor, so
I can pretend I know enough about it. I did see Lucy and her husband when she pulled out of it because I was vaguely watching it because of you, but I don't understand it enough to have a team. I don't know them
Yeah,
well
you
enough.
might have seen me in some, like, drone footage somewhere as, like, a little teeny tiny dot on a highway. Yeah. Um, I'm like, for me, like, the fascinating thing with some of these races is, like, first, I love that, like, the pros and the amateurs race at the same time on the same course.
Yeah, that is neat.
But, like, for me and my age group, right, we're starting at, like, over an hour after the pros do,
Yeah.
which is enough time that on the bike, if it's, like, an out and back like Kona is,
Will you pass them?
yeah, they're going the other direction,
Right.
but before we see them, we see the television crews.
Uh-huh. Following them.
Yeah, yeah, there's, like,
That's fast.
cars, motorcycles with camera guys hanging off the back of them.
And you're like, "They're not here for me."
Right, 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 exactly. No, if I hear a motorcycle, it's probably a ref trying to find something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so stepping back, so a lot of people feel imposter syndrome, men and women. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, a therapist or anything, but I imagine that men and women have different ways of coping with it just culturally. So, like, if you're in that situation where you want to kind of level up, but you're having that feeling of, well, I don't belong, or, I haven't, I shouldn't be here because of whatever reason. Like, how would you tell people to kind of get past it,
Well, I
get
think
over themselves?
it's interesting because, like, when you were mentioning the guy that tried to, you know, yuck your yum when it came to being at the championship, and then um, the people that you mentored when you were in corporate, I feel like it's finding the right people to boost you up. You know what I mean? Like, that's a
Mhm.
big part of it, is that, like, you can surround yourself by people who are encouraging and support you. And then internalizing that is also important. But I think that, like, finding mentors, finding people who, like, here's a good example that's, a real life one. I have three very, very good friends of mine who were friends of mine well before I even started doing runDisney, and
Mhm.
who sort of watched my entrance into runDisney and me doing it, and it inspired them. And so they decided to start doing runDisney. But these are people who had not previously even been runners. Um, and so I feel like because they saw me doing it, and I'm a friend and I support them, you know what I mean? Like they looked to me to help encourage them and to make them feel capable, you know what I mean? But had they gone to, say, I don't, let's imagine if they had gone to a friend or an unsupportive partner or somebody else who was like, "Well, you don't even run. Why would you do that?" You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, you need to move away from people who are putting you down and lean into the people who are building you up. So I think that's a big part of it. And also sort of challenging the premise in your own head around what constitutes good enough, and saying, like, by whose definition do I need to sort of justify my right to be here? Like, I don't need to measure up to anybody else's standard, you know?
I mean, I think that's the key, right? Although in corporate, you do actually need to measure up to someone else's standard.
Yeah, that's a different world I'm very unfamiliar with.
It is a different world, and my experience there is, like, the person that you end up working for makes a massive difference in whether you're gonna be successful or not.
Totally.
And, like, I think we underestimate, like, how much that is true in life. Like, the people you associate with directly influence
Mhm.
how successful you're gonna be at whatever.
Yeah. How you're gonna feel, because to me, like, and I know this is when, maybe not entirely, but to some degree, one of the things where we're like yin and yang. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, success is like, for marathon weekend, like, my success was I went and I did my best and I had a good time and I did a whole marathon over 2 days, sort of, kind of, but
It was
like,
a split marathon.
it was a split marathon, but it was successful to me. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what the definition of success is, versus, so, like, same thing in anything, like, if somebody were to go about saying, I want to do an Ironman, you know what I mean? And in fact, the boyfriend I previously mentioned, who had gotten me to do the sprint, he DNF'd a full Ironman on his first one. You know what I mean? And so, and this is like
It
2000.
happens.
Well, yeah, totally. Because it's a huge feat. But someone might in that situation, especially if they went in feeling some imposter syndrome and like, do I really belong here? Is this really, am I good enough? And then they DNF. Like somebody could walk away from that reinforcing their imposter syndrome, like saying, like, see, I failed. You know what I mean? If they defined the success as reaching some benchmark, even if the benchmark is the finish line, versus being like, I showed up, I put everything I could into it, so I've succeeded, even if I didn't, sort of meet some arbitrary line of like accomplishment here. And so I think that's part of it too, because otherwise it like fear of failure can paralyze you and keep you from trying things or doing things or allowing yourself in the room.
Yeah, although failure is when we grow the fastest.
Well, totally. You know.
Yeah. I was thinking back,
Uh-huh.
as you were talking, to one of my dopey athletes who athletes for dopey, not an athlete that is dopey, to make that distinction. And, she had failed a couple of times. Yeah, she had failed a couple of times. And the tenacity that it takes
To go back.
to go through that failure and say, you know what? I'm going to give it a go again. And
Totally.
this time I'm going to have a different outcome.
Mhm.
Although if you do that and then do nothing different, then don't be surprised if you don't have a different outcome.
Right. Well, and there's also the like, and I know we were talking about before, like the distances and how like, we do things that are hard because they're hard. And I agree with that. I feel like there's the line of like if you never wanted to fail, you could just always set the bar low enough that you wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like you could, like I could, and this wouldn't be true for everyone, but for me personally, at least in this stage of my life, like I would never have a problem finishing a 5K. You know what I mean? Like I could do that. No problem.
Wait, that flies in the fact of I hate fight.
I hate them, but I can finish them.
Yeah.
And so like point being, like you could pick a distance that is very manageable for you. So you never have to worry about failing, or you could take a job that is well beneath what you're capable of doing that you could do with one eye closed and one hand tied behind your back in your sleep and never have to worry about failing. But like finding the line of I can probably do this. Like I can probably do this if I try hard and if I work hard and if like I think I can, but also there's some possibility that I can't. Like that's why we do it, is to be like in that position and to challenge ourselves. And whatever that is, like it might be a full Ironman and it might be a 5K. Like it depends who you are and where you are, but like aiming for that, aiming for the like probably, and I'm going to see if I can get there.
Yeah. And, I sometimes wonder if it like how much of that's cultural too. Because
Mm.
I think as Americans, or at least growing up in the Northeast, we were always kind of taught like shoot high, and if you fail, then shoot higher.
Well, I mean, I would say yes. America is very like individualistic and very competitive and capitalistic and all those sorts of things. But it's also people are different. Like
Hmm.
some people are like this comfy, cozy zone, like this job I got when I was 21 that I've been very good at and makes enough money to pay my bills. Like, why would I ever leave? Like some
Oh,
people,
you certainly see that,
yeah,
and
there's
there's
people.
nothing wrong with that. Like,
No.
I have a number of friends who are like, you know what? I made it to a certain level, and their focus changed from achieving at work to
Family.
achieving in other areas of life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's family, maybe it's, you know, finally hitting a deer when they're out hunting for the first
Whatever
time
it
in 30
is.
years or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that all sort of comes back to like the values and what matters to you and what you care about and all that sort of thing.
So, kind of moving into the next topic, before we started recording,
Yeah.
we said those of us who do like these really endurance-y stuff, is it really a substitute for therapy? I said to you, I'm like, does this mean that like I'm more broken than you because I do longer distances?
So a couple points. First of all, no, it is not a substitute for therapy, but it
There's a whole group of people on the internet that would be very upset to hear this.
it doesn't hurt. And so it is a kind of therapy. I always say, what are you running away from? Well, my demons. That's what we're running away from. Like we're trying to outrun our problems and outrun our stress and outrun all sort of thing.
The problem with that
Yeah.
comes in the swim
Yeah.
because you outrun them and then you run towards them,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
down and back and down and
Down
back.
and back. And then you're going back in the same direction. It's just miserable.
Yes.
So I think it is a sort of therapy. You know what I mean? And I mean, this stuff, I've seen a lot of this on Instagram and stuff. The idea of like people, like endurance athletes have already learned to suffer. You know what I mean? And so there's some degree of like people have had trauma and then like they've already learned to tolerate pain. And there's definitely some truth to that. Also, I mean, there's the biological part, endorphins and,
Mhm.
all the feel good chemicals that you get from aerobic exercise and endurance sports and that sort of thing. There's
See, I feel
also,
like I must be broken because that all happens like the after I've finished and my body has had a couple hours to forget how much it sucks.
oh my gosh, we are that this is our difference. You know what I mean? Because like I love the process. Like I love running. Like I love the running part.
See, I'm very achievement
Yeah.
oriented and goal oriented, as you've pointed out a few
We are
times in the last hour.
oppositely wired. Yes.
Yeah. And so, like, the actual act of running, like, sometimes I do enjoy it, but most of the time,
You just want
I'm
the
like,
finish line.
I'm like, there's worse things I could be doing.
Uh-huh.
But I find the enjoyment like after the activity.
Yeah.
Now, I do like honestly love cycling. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, you're pretty awesome at it.
But well, and that's what happens when you like
Yeah.
doing
It's true.
things.
Yeah, totally. You get better.
Yeah, but, I'm like, in an Ironman, like, I enjoy the events, I do. And, when I line up and, like, how awesome is it to be able to do them?
So incredible.
But the enjoyment is, like, at the end in the
Yeah.
accomplishment versus, like there are times, like, at Lake Placid this year when we're out there going up hills with 20-mile-an-hour winds
Yeah.
in the rain when the temperature dropped 30
God.
degrees and the
Yeah.
inside of the visor is fogged over and you can barely see and everything in your body wants to get off the freaking bike.
I'm sure.
But you keep going.
Yes. I mean, in some version of that, it's not nearly I can't imagine. I'll just be honest. I can't imagine doing a full Ironman. It just sounds like, I mean, every time you do one, me and our other friends, we track you. And I literally spend the whole day telling my family, she's only 30 miles into the bike ride right now. And my kids are like, well, how far is the bike ride? I'm like, I don't know, 1,000,000 miles? Like, she's not even close. Like, look at this little line. She has to go she's this much percent. Like, it is insane how long.
It's not that bad. It's only 112.
It's like 12 hours. That's longer than a full night's sleep for me by a lot.
Well, my goal this year is to make that 12 into 10. So that'll make it better.
Shooting for the stars. See, I do enjoy like setting myself a goal and achieving it. Like
Right?
like a personal one, like that. You know what I mean? Like my goal is to do a pull-up. So it's a little less ambitious than yours, but hey, it's my goal. So
That's okay. I don't know that I can do pull-ups either.
I can't do a pull-up yet, but it's on the list and I'm going to feel awesome when I finally get it. So I like that, but
Oh,
also I don't choose to set a goal for which I won't enjoy the process of achieving it. If that makes
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think yeah, I have a 50-minute run to do today. I'm not really looking
Still,
forward
it's
to
like
that.
6 o'clock at night.
I know, but I've
Uh,
been busy all day.
I'm a morning person. I don't.
I met with a prospective investor in our business. I met with a new cycling instructor for the virtual cycling stuff. I met with 2 potential new clients, wasted a whole buttload of time working on social media stuff that will ultimately suck just as much as all my other social media stuff. And now we're here. So when we're done here,
Okay, well,
when we're done here,
fun.
then I'll go for a run.
Uh-huh. So I think the summary if we can try to find one and wrap this into a bow, is that imposter syndrome is almost universal if you have any degree of insecurity in you, which you should, you know what I mean? Because if you're trying to do something hard, you should recognize that it's a challenge, so it's normal, but also it's something that you overcome by being encouraged and being around people who encourage you and inspire you and can show you that it's possible and who include you and allow you to belong in those spaces. And if they don't, you just decide you belong anyway.
So do you think that there's a piece of it that is related to how intimidating or not intimidating the environment is?
Sure. But also your sensitivity to intimidation. You know what I mean? Because the environment has something to do with it, but some people are easily intimidated and some people aren't.
Obviously, I'm very intimidated. Wait, no, I used the wrong suffix, intimidating.
Intimidating. Yes. That's the pink hair, man. It's scary.
Yeah, I got in the pool and it's not so
Not
pink
so pink
anymore.
anymore.
No, it needs to be redone. It lasts like 4 swims. Once I get in the pool, it's done.
You let your hair get wet? My hair doesn't get that wet when I swim because I put it in the cap.
Yeah, I put my hair in a cap too, and it's always sopping wet.
That would be
The cap keeps your hair from becoming a naughty mess. It doesn't keep your hair from getting wet.
well.
Unless you have a super special cap that
My
no
very
one else.
my very official expert on such things, which is ChatGPT, told me that it was okay to not wash my hair every time that I swim because I would then have to wash my hair way too many times. So I don't always. Sometimes I just dry it because it's just a little bit wet at the bottom. That's my tip for today, which people can decide is craziness.
Yeah, yeah.
You wash it every time you swim? I can't do it. It's like I would have to. It's like then you can only swim.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm on like the once a day crew
Yeah.
but they do make
They make stuff you put in your
shampoo.
hair first too.
Yeah, you can put pre-conditioner in your hair and it'll help.
Yeah.
But I never do because I'm like, I don't want to turn the pool into a bubble
I
bath,
know that's kind of weird. I don't want to put
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But all right,
So pink hair intimidation.
pink hair intimidation.
Yes. And I think the other thing that we can do as people is try to help people avoid imposter syndrome by including people and trying to open up spaces and welcome people who want to be in them.
Yeah, and I think especially like endurance events, things that typically skew one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's like, the more we can actively, be welcoming to people who don't traditionally belong in that space. And it sounds very DEI, but it's really not because, as someone whose career now relies on endurance sports, right? Yeah, we want to grow these sports, and the only way to grow them is to bring more people in.
Yeah.
And how do we, if people are intimidated by the space, then they're not going to come.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And that's the problem, right?
And my perspective on it is like, this is for fun. You know what I mean? Like, this is for fun. This is not something that, like, nothing is produced in it.
I'm sorry, they call it a race, therefore it's a competition.
I mean, yeah, but also, like, it's not a competition with any actual consequence,
Well, it's
like,
a competition with yourself
yeah, it is something
for
we
most
do.
people.
It is something we do because we can, not because we have
Yes.
to. So
Yes.
everybody should be given the opportunity to make that decision.
Yes, it is something we can do, partly as a celebration of the fact that we're able to.
Absolutely.
And if you're doing these things, you're putting a lot more hours into the training than you are into the actual event. So like the event is always the victory
Well,
lap.
you know what's funny? That's a little bit also why I felt good about my DNF for the marathon because I was like, I did the hard part, man. I got up to my 22-mile training run before I got injured. So like I did a marathon this year, whatever, like that's the hard part.
I don't want to be the person who breaks it to you. 22 miles is not 26.2.
I mean, no, but 22 miles after doing 20 miles and while doing, training in between, like that's the harder part than just showing up and running the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I am jealous of the people who claim, whether it's real or not, don't know, claim to just show up and do it. I'm like,
I'd be way too scared to do that.
yeah, I'm like, either you're lying or damn, you're superhuman.
I mean, that's a little bit what I think you might be, Jill, to be honest. I'm like, there's a
What?
part of me that thinks that
Lying?
you might actually be like the Terminator, that underneath you're like made of metal because of how much you can
Is that
endure.
what the sparkles are? It's
Right.
like the
Like
metal
underneath
showing
you're
through?
made of like full titanium. You're like, I can just do another Ironman and my body's fine. Like, I don't know how you do it.
I don't know. I think that might be the first time I've ever been called made of
You
titanium.
might be. I mean, do you have problems at airports going through the thing? Are we sure?
So like the T2000 or something?
Yes, that does Ironmans and marathons and dopies. Yes.
I have been asked if I was a machine before.
I
Like,
think
"How do you do this? Are you a machine?"
it does seem machine-like.
In fact, it might have been you that asked me that.
It might have been because that's my running. I'm like, there can't be skin and bone. It has to be like some sort of steel.
No, it's more like chunk and chub. But you still show up and do it.
You do awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we will talk again.
So what's your
My next race is Disneyland.
how you feeling about it?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm feeling good. Like I'm good. And
I'm so jealous. I wanted to do it and I totally missed out. And I did manage to
uh
find a charity bib, but it was so expensive. I just couldn't justify it.
I mean, I know this is hard, but you do have to like pick and choose because of all the things you do. Like you can't do all of them. I mean, you have kids and like a husband. I met him. He's a nice guy. And
He
like
does exist.
you have cute
Yes.
little dogs. Like you have other things too. You can't do all the racing.
And trying to get now
Business.
4
Yeah.
businesses off the ground, as it turns out.
Right. Like sometimes you just need to say when. Like I just need
Yeah.
weekend home from time to time. Yeah. So yes, that's
All
the
right.
thing I'll be doing.
Well, I wish you luck,
Thanks.
and I will be there in spirit. If you happen to kind of, shoot through that finisher shoot twice, you feel free to pick up a second coast to coast medal and bring it home. That's the only reason I want to do it this year
Uh-huh.
because I looked at the route and I'm like,
No, the
it's
routes.
not as nice a route as it was a couple years ago.
No, it's not. You're absolutely right.
It's like a long out and back, which
The out and back and out and back. Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, I thought that was a little weird, and I get it. Like, there's been a lot of people complaining, "Oh, I don't want to run the local roads in Anaheim," but still, it's like it was kind of cool. You got to go
Yeah.
through the stadium and run, down the river, and now it's like you go out like 6 blocks, and then you come back the same 6 blocks,
I know.
and then you
Quite.
kind of go out like 2 or 3 blocks another direction, and then come back.
It's gonna stink. You should just, launch.
But you're going to have some pretty cool hardware to come home with you on that one.
That's true. I mean, if you really want the coast to coast medal, I'm sure you can get it.
I'm sure that I could eBay it if I really wanted
100%.
to, but I have never eBayed a medal for a race, and I never will.
Well,
But
I got
now
it.
the
I was
Coast
so
to Coast
proud of
medal this year is really cool.
I was so proud of my marathon medal last year that I did buy an extra one because mine had a chip in it. So I bought somebody else's too. So I
For
did
Dopey?
it. No, the
For
marathon.
Disney?
Yeah, the Disney marathon. Yeah.
If you email runDisney, they'll send you a new one
Oh, I should probably do that.
for free.
Okay, well, I bought one for $20 off some guy. So I have to because it was my most proudest medal because I did that marathon. And then I don't know if
Okay.
I'll ever do another one, but I did that one.
Yes, the runDisney folks they will replace chipped medals.
That's nice.
That's why now they give it to you in the like plastic
Yeah.
thing.
I always check,
Yeah.
but it was a really teeny tiny little chip on like Minnie's foot or something. Yeah.
So, I used to be like, oh my God, it's got a chip. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a bunch of pictures with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to hang on a wall and eventually it's going to get covered up by other metals that got hung over it.
And
So
there are some people.
that little chip has stopped bothering me.
I'm impressed because you are kind of type A perfectionist. So I'm impressed that you're able to not let it bother you. But also, there are people who I know if they decide to take metal pictures for the first time in 10 years, they put them all in a bag together with no protection and they just let them clank around and hit each other.
Yeah. I have no idea who you're talking about.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I have to put 6 socks on it and put it in a case and like wrap it in the shirt.
I I mean, I will admit I do have a specific dopey and,
I
like,
like your metal
runDisney
case
challenge
thing.
case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've got, like, the 6 metal case, and I've got, like, a 4 metal one.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to see if you can remember where you got it and send it to me because yours is nicer than mine. I like it with the little plastic sleeveys.
It's all Etsy.
Yeah, but Etsy's a big place. Do you remember where you got it?
Etsy is a big place. I'm sure I could find
If
it.
you find it, yeah, let me know because mine is, like, way subpar compared to that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did get my son one, and I did get John one, and John forgot his,
Husbands.
which is why his was in the bottom of the bag, wrapped in the cooling cloth that they gave us at the end of the
Oh, at
marathon.
least he tried to wrap it. I mean, that's something.
He did well, no, it was me that wrapped it
Okay.
because he appears like he should be type A, but he's really not that OCD.
No, I don't think he is. I think but you wouldn't be able to be married to somebody that's equally type A. That would be, like, too much.
God, no,
Too
no,
much. You
no,
need
no,
somebody who's,
that
like,
would
got
not work.
chill.
I'm very type A, that would not
You
work.
need a guy with some chill, and I think you got one.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, thank you for listening. Thank you, Sharon, for coming and
Yeah,
being on the
chatting.
podcast again.
Yes, it's fun. I enjoy being
I am positive it's not the last time we're gonna see you here.
I know, and you're to come on mine too. That'll be fun.
I will come on yours.
Yeah,
You just have to invite me.
awesome. I need to get this software, and then I will.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to have that conversation.
I'm sure.
And for those listening, if this was interesting to you, please like, subscribe, download whatever platform you're on. That would be awesome. And if you are planning to do Dopey next year, please consider the coaching services from Be Fierce Multisport, which you can find at www.befiercemultisport.com. And with that, I want you to be fierce and be you, and I will see you next time.